Kia ora and welcome to another episode of The Leadership Lounge, the space for healthcare leaders to take a big breath. Maybe it's the first time you've had a chance to take that big breath all week. If that's the case, take another one. Why not while you're here? Place for you to get some fresh perspectives, some ideas, some inspirations, and I hope some encouragement and some optimism into your work, in the stuff that you're doing every day. I'm Katie, I'm your host, and I've worked in healthcare for over 30 years, and I now work with leaders and their teams so that they can feel supported, connected, and encouraged in the work that they do, that you are doing every day. Now, this week on the Leadership Lounge, again, inspired by a conversation I'd had this week, and it reminded me of a thing I did when I was a leader, particularly when I was taking on a new direct report. Somebody new was coming into the team. Now, as you know, if you're working in healthcare, it is highly reactive. Things are changing all the time. You've got to work, run, think on the fly. All of a sudden, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. That often involves quite a lot of decisions. So one of the first things I would tell people when they would become part of the team that I was leading or working with was that assurance that I'd got their back. I would frame it up really clearly. You're going to have to make decisions in the moment. And I know that you are going to make the best decision that you can in that time and in that context with the information that you've got. Whatever that decision is, whether it works out or doesn't work out, I've got your back. I trust you to do what you're there to do. Because often when that decision has been made and then, half the day has gone on, everyone then looks back and criticizes, oh, why did they do that? Or you shouldn't have done that. We're really easy to criticize with that hindsight lens. And it's always worth reminding ourselves and the people that are working for you or your team that you are working with that we are often making decisions in the moment with the best information that we have at the time and the best decision given everything else that we are holding in our heads. We're going to get it wrong sometimes. And it's important that the people that you are leading or that you're working with understand that. So that was the first thing that I would often tell people. And so this conversation that I was having that inspired that memory went on to think about a couple of other things that is really useful when you are first stepping up into that leadership role. So you've got a brand new team leader, brand new charge nurse, whatever the role is, and you've kind of got to put a bit of scaffolding in for them because life is hectic, lots are going on, and with the best will in the world, I don't think we can give everybody the orientation and the support when they first start. So this is about what are the 3 things that you can do to set them up as best you can in the context that you've got? So that first thing around trust, letting them know that you've got their back, really important place to start because then they feel safe. They feel safe to be able to explore and that idea that it's okay to make a mistake and then we can talk it out. So that's number 1. The second one, inspired by Radical Candor by Kim Scott, and I know we've talked about that one in the past. This idea of caring personally. This is that space of getting to know those people, and worrying less about their task list and how they're doing and thinking about, what's going on in your life, what matters most to you, how do you roll? Are you a morning person? Are you an evening person? Do you prefer it if I text you? How do you like to get feedback? What type of appreciative feedback do you like? Are you a skim reader? Are you a details person? Get to know them. What do they like to do on the weekends? What are their hobbies? Now, mainly these are done in that sort of that one-to-one meeting, which are kind of, depending on the number of direct reports, you're going to have to work out your cadence for doing it, and different people like different things. I think that's the space for that, for you to explore and get to know each other. And they're going to get to know you as well, right? Because it's really important. This is a relationship. And so the one-to-one meetings are kind of crucial. And I think I remember when if my one-to-one meeting with my boss was forever cancelled, changed, forgotten, kind of sent a message to me that I didn't matter. It wasn't very encouraging. So I always put those at the top of, I would say they should go at the top of your list of important meetings. Because if you're leading leaders, they're the people that are getting the work done, all right? And your job is to make sure that they feel encouraged and inspired and motivated and supported and connected, and then they'll be able to do the same stuff, right? So your one-to-one meetings, really, really crucial. And then you can make sure things like, that you go to them rather than them having to come to you, that it's their agenda, not your agenda, that there's, maybe it's a walk around the park, maybe it's, whatever it is, it's creating that space so that you can get to know each other. And this is that space of ensuring that you care personally. So I'll pop some links to a couple of things around one-to-one meetings. Yes, you can have a structure. Yes, you can have some prompt questions that you always use, or a selection that you always use, because that's really helpful, because that can build some stability and some assurance. You don't want your direct report going, oh, I've got to go to my one-to-one meeting now and being terrified about it, right? These should be good conversations. And I'll pop some links to Radical Candor as well, so there's some great stuff in there. Perfect book to grapple with if you're leading a team of people. And then the third thing, and I couldn't quite decide how to wrap this all to kind of together, but it's this space of feedback. So we know we need feedback if we're going to make progress. We know feedback's important if we want to get better at things that we want to be good at. If you think about how do sports players get better, I hate using sport analogies, but if I go to tennis for some reason, you're going to get feedback on your style, your stroke, what you're doing. If we want to get better, we need to have feedback. But commonly find that people giving feedback and receiving feedback, not a highly comfortable space for people, and we do a lot of avoidance in that space. So being able to have feedback conversations is really important. And I think if we pop that into and this is what I was grappling with, because it's also this space of reflection. So if you're working with someone, you can be like going, okay, so what's going well right now? What are the things that you're struggling with? What do you wish you were doing more of? What do you think you could be doing less of? What should you stop doing? What are your team saying to you? So getting into that space where the person that you're looking after, your direct report, is actually in that reflective space. And then you can build on that, because actually they might be completely aware that they're not getting to a meeting on time every week. And they'll be able to share that with you, and they'll go, you know what, I'm really struggling with getting to this meeting because I have this thing just before and the meeting's way over there, and I really struggle with this and I don't know what to do about it. So the thing that you've been like going, that was really frustrating me, she's always late to that meeting, she already knows that. So asking them first for their reflections on what's working, what's not working, what are they struggling with, all that kind of stuff. That could be a useful leaping point. The second thing around a feedback is noticing what people are doing well. Now, often teams will come to me and one of the things they'll pop on their list is, we need to get better at giving feedback to each other. And my first question is always, how good are you at giving appreciative feedback to each other? And they kind of look at me and like going, what? Well, what? So I've said, is there a culture of giving feedback to each other generally around stuff that's going well? Because if you're not doing that, then giving critical feedback, critical feedback, that's not quite the right word. Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to pause. The kitten, Lordy, does this kitten is in a biting phase. Who knows what's going on here? I'm hoping he's going to grow out of it. Hold on, hold that thought, people. Ooh, I'm glad I did press pause. That turned into quite a long interlude. He was clearly ready for playtime. Hey ho. That's what we had to do. Rightio, now I have to go, where was I when I actually stopped? This idea of feedback and giving appreciative feedback, if you're not used to giving feedback, is potentially a safer, more encouraging, more uplifting place to start. And there's a lot of benefits around this, because if you are noticing what people are doing well and giving that feedback to them, it's encouraging, it's supporting, and it's also reminding people that they are doing well, and then they'll do more of that. So this works on a lot of levels, and it is when working with a team. It is definitely the first place I start with, because it does just lift morale, lift energy. It's one of those it's a win-win, really. And I often describe it as this way of building your feedback muscles, because it can be uncomfortable to give the feedback. It can be uncomfortable to receive the feedback. So you just get used to it. But it's in a space of talking about things that people are doing well. So for your direct report, noticing what they are doing well and what they are achieving and what they're getting on with. And it's not just you've ticked off that task. It's more about the way they approach things. Because now remember, you're trying to hone their leadership skills. And you want to call out their behaviours, their characteristics that are really supporting them being great leaders. Now, as it happens, appreciative feedback has been one of those things that I have been interested in and talking about and teaching for probably a very long time, when I'm now trying to reflect back on things. And a little while ago, I made a video for a team which kind of summed up the kind of principles behind giving appreciative feedback, a kind of a process for using it, and some really practical tips for how you put it into practice when you are already busy. Because often we go, we need to do this, and it's like, it's another thing to do. But actually, appreciative feedback is a thing that once you start noticing can become part of conversation. And it's a much more energizing conversation. So it gives you energy. So therefore you can get more things done. So like I say, a win-win. So I've got this video, and I have popped it into my website as a sort of a mini course. So you can log on, sign up for it. It's a free course. You watch the 30-minute video, and you can download the stuff that goes with it, the sort of the summary. There's also a page of a whole load of other resources, all on this topic of feedback. And my top tip for this is, if you're a charge nurse, if you're a team leader, get a couple of other people, just sit there and watch it together, because then you can start practicing with each other and then you build. So it's one of those, let's get used to this kind of idea and being really specific about it and then build from there. I may have waffled off the point of what I was talking about. I got excited by the fact that I finally put this video into the website. So I will pop the link for that, this Appreciative Feedback 101. Brilliant place to start in these kind of feedback reflective kind of moment questions. But then also you need to pull out when people are not achieving or not doing things as well as they should do, or where they could improve. And it is important, but it becomes hard. So there's lots of different ways out there. There's 100 million things on giving feedback in this manner. But I just want to share this one with you, which I got from a Dan Pinkcast, which are very cool short videos. Again, I'll pop the link to the one that I'm thinking about, and then you can explore all the others as well. And he says, he frames it 19 words to use when providing feedback. Now, the idea and this thing actually came from the book called The Culture Code, which is a phenomenal book. And again, could go into that and on another, if I'll put it on the list, I'll pop it on the list. So the 19 words that he suggests in order to frame the giving the feedback. I'm giving you these comments because I have very high expectations and I know that you can reach them. I'll read that again. I'm giving you these comments because I have very high expectations and I know that you can reach them. Now, what both Dan Pink and the Culture Code go on to say is that this establishes trust, because it's coming from a place of caring personally, that second point, because you are talking about the belief, the potential, the trust in that person. And so they're going to want to. It's creating that sense of belonging. We're in this together, that we are going to try and do this. And I believe that we can. So there you go. That was just one little snippet around maybe another thing to think about when you're giving feedback to people. So they're the three things that I pulled out that was inspired by this conversation about when you have a new leader that is a new leader that's coming to your team. There's a lot of stuff going on for them. What are some things that you can do to help give them the foundation or the stability or the, groundwork, whatever it is, to get going? Because we're in this really highly reactive, fast-moving, everything's changing, high expectations, high demand, high pressure, all of that kind of stuff. That's true, right? They're the cards we've got. So what are we going to do to make the most of that? Let them know that you've got their back, that you trust them, that mistakes are going to get made. Show them that you care personally. Make sure your one-on-one meetings are at the top of your priority list, and that you get to know them as a person and that they get to know you as a person. And then create that space building off those two so that you can have conversations about feedback, or have feedback conversations, that you're giving appreciative feedback so that they know they're on the right track. So many people come to me and say, I just wish I knew I was doing the right thing. I often laugh inside and think, I'm sure they'd tell you if you weren't, but maybe they wouldn't. Who knows? So let them know when they're doing things right, and then have conversations when it's not going so well. But do that in that context of and giving them the space to reflect for themselves. Alrighty, got 3 things. I waffled off again on that last point. 3 things. Build trust. Let them know you've got your back. Care personally, and create space for feedback. All right. Nice swifty one today. I can go rescue the cat from the playroom. I've put him in. Yes, I have a playroom for that kitten. Don't judge me, please. It's been lovely chatting through this again. I'm delighted by the inspiration that I get from the conversations that I have each week, and then I can then share that wider. The top tips, the insights and the ideas that come from the people that I get to talk to. It's such a great job that I get to do, even though lots of people are having some tough times and tough moments going on. So this is that space. The Leadership Lounge is that space for you to just, like I say, take that moment to breathe and think about the stuff that you're holding and what could you do differently? What is the shifts that you need to make? Is there a new leader that's come into your team? Or maybe this is an opportunity to just refresh with the people that are in your team. Maybe they don't know that you've got their back. Maybe they're dying to know how they're getting on and would love some feedback from you. All right. We've got our tips, we've got our ideas. I will pop all those links into the show notes. Check out the Appreciative Feedback mini course that I have chucked into the website for you. Ironically, there isn't a space to give any feedback. So just let me know. How does it go? What's great about it? What would be even better? What other topics would you like similar kind of working on? And I'd love to hear, because it's the first one I've kind of chucked out there. So it'd be really cool to hear from you. Alrighty. Wrapping up for another week of the Leadership Lounge. Take that breath again, roll your shoulders. You're doing a lot better than you think you are. You take care, and I will speak to you again next week in another episode of the Leadership Lounge. Bye-bye.